Okay, so let me log into this machine. So yesterday we were talking about Docker networking. So today we'll discuss how to create Docker networking and how to create our containers in the newly created network. Okay, so here if we check Docker network ls, these are the default network which is available, the bridge network, and there is one network called this one. This is the one. And if we check Docker inspect network and this network ID, if you check. So here we can see this is a default network got created and this is a subnet. Automatically it use, even if you install Docker also, it will use the same subnet everywhere. And this is a gateway. That is what we discussed yesterday. So now, and whenever we create containers, automatically they are getting created inside this specific um, network. So now I want to create my own network with some default separate subnet range. Okay. So how we can create that? The same Docker command we can use. Okay, and even Docker also provides some official document for that. We'll see from there also we can copy to create. So this is a one Docker network create. So here if you see the bridge network to create, so if you see here Docker network create hyphen driver equal to bridge. So which one you want to create, that is you need to mention hyphen driver equal to bridge network we are going to create, and which subnet. Okay, and this is a subnet range you can give any private IP range you can define, and this is a name. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a network with this one. But I don't want to give this name. I want to give the name is 192 network, so that I can easily understand that whenever I look into this network, so I can understand, okay, this network range is 192 series. Okay, so I can able to create it. And if you check Docker network ls, okay, if you see the name 192 network, and this is a network ID, and this is also bridge. And one more network I want to create, and this one in the same command itself, you can define your IP range and you can define your gateway also. In this command, we did not define the gateway. So if we go and check with the inspect command, Docker inspect network, and this is the network ID. If you see here, this is a subnet range, and by default, whenever we start using it, it will use 192.168.0.1 as an gateway. Okay, but even if you want to decide from this network range which IP should be assigned as a gateway manually, if you want to assign, then you can give this way. Okay, so this is nothing but this is also same command, like you can just remove this backslash, and you can execute, or directly also you can execute, it will work. So some people might be confused, those who don't know, like it might be in a different format. So it's not like that, it's just a command. Okay, so this is the name. So driver bridge subnet 170.78 is a private IP range. So if you remember 170.16 to 170.31, from this range they are private range. Okay, so 170.28 is also private range, and hyphen IP range from this subnet, it is taking, like it's doing subnetting inside this one. Okay, so hyphen IP range again slash 24 means from this only this, it's like a doing subnetting. And if you see here slash 24, so we don't want the complete 65,000 IPs, so we can do what we can doing IP range is this one. So this IP range will be allocated to this network. And gateway IP address, you can define anyone. So 254 or 1 or 2 or 3, anything you can define as per your request. If you don't give, automatically it will take the first IP of this IP range. That's the difference. So this is, and for this one also, I don't want to give this one. I will give 172 network. The name will be, so that I can understand this network is belongs to 172 network. It's created Docker network. So this is 172 network, and if you check Docker inspect network. So if you see from this subnet, this is an IP range. You can create more IP ranges also from, because this is 16. So you can create more IP ranges, because I don't want completely a single 65,000 network into a for single network. So multiple IP ranges also we can create instead of wasting the IPs, or if you want multiple networks. And this is a gateway. So this is how we configured. So now we have 3 networks. So this is a Docker host, my Docker host machine. And here we have 3 networks. One is default 172.17.0.0/16, and another one is 192.168.0.0/16, and another one is 172.28.0.0/16. Okay, under this we have a network. We can ignore that. Now these are the 3 different networks has been created. So this is a default one, these 2 we created. Now whatever the containers are getting created, let's say I created 2 containers over here, and some 2 containers over here, and the same 2 containers over here. Now internally these containers can able to communicate, and we can able to access from externally, and these containers also communicate internally, and we can able to access from external, because of the gateway IP address. Okay, so there will be gateway IP address for each and every network. So this will be 172.17.0.1 is the gateway IP address here, and here it will be default 192.168.0.1 will be the gateway IP address, and here we provided specifically the gateway IP address 172.28.0.254, because we defined the gateway. So with the help of this gateway, it can able to communicate with this host network, and then this is the host network IP address in the private subnet. With the help of this one, it can able to communicate this gateway range. So externally also, if you do port forwarding for these containers, then those external ports, host ports need to be allowed in the security group, so that we can able to access. But internally they will not communicate. This container cannot able to communicate with this one. This cannot able to communicate to this one. Why? Because it's isolated. To communicate with the external world, you have a gateway. So with the help of this gateway, it is coming and reaching here. But internally from this network to this network, you don't have any gateway to communicate. This is a different network, and this is a different network, right? In IP addressing, so 2 different networks cannot able to communicate until unless you configure a gateway. So that's the reason here internally they will not communicate each other, and we don't require also to communicate. Okay, until unless if there is a dependency of your application. Okay, so by default they are not going to communicate. So this is how it will work internally. So these are, it's like a separate network, and this will be the separate network, and this will be the separate network. They will not communicate. Only they will communicate to your Docker host, and through the external world it can able to access if you do port forwarding. Okay, so this is how it will work, and we'll do the testing also. Okay, while creating, I'll create one container here and one container here, and we'll see how both can able to communicate from the external world and how they will not communicate internally. Okay, so for that, so now let me create an container in both the networks. Okay. Now docker run -it -name, let's say Ubuntu 192 -network 192 network -p. I'm not sure whether already 88 is using, so I'm giving 80. Let me give Nginx, or here the name I can give Nginx, and this is the image name, and this is the shell I'm going to give. Okay, it got created. Now we'll see whether Nginx is running or not. PSU also. Okay, let it be. So now what I want to do, I will install some package inside this one. Let me check which OS it is using. It's using Debian, so I'm going to use apt-get update first. So whenever you want to install any package in the Debian or Ubuntu, first you need to execute apt-get update, and then you can able to install ip-utils. What is the package? There's a package name net-utils apt-get install. net-tools. Okay. Okay, so install the package, and if I check now if config, it is working. If you see here, 192.168.0.2 IP has been assigned to one of the container. So here in this network, when I created, so for this container, it created, this is an IP to this one of the container. And now the same what I'm going to do, let me come out of this one and check docker ps. So this is a container got created, and now the same command I'm going to execute, but I'll just change the name of the container to 172, and network is also 172 network, because these are the names I provided, and port number is also 86 I'm going to give.
I have a quick question, please.
Yes.
Yeah, what's the difference between the -p, the lowercase, and the uppercase?
P?
Yes. For the,
I did not get you.
now, this is lowercase. If
Yes.
we use uppercase, what is the difference? Is there any?
So here you're talking about this one, the port -p.
Yes.
There is a difference. Okay. I forgot the difference between lowercase and uppercase p. Okay, let me come out of that one.
I should capital P randomly assigned port.
Yeah, exactly. So we no need to specify the port. So when you give uppercase P, randomly here it is going to assign the port. So as of now, we are defining this specific port, right? That I want this port. So if you are using uppercase P, then randomly it is going to assign the port. So you
Okay.
don't need to specify the port. Okay. So Docker PS. Okay, the another container also got created, and now let me log into this machine also. Docker apt-get update, and then we'll do apt-get install net-tools. Now if I check, so this is a IP has been assigned to this specific container. If you see 28.5, because from that subnet it is assigning the IP address. Okay, so now if I try to ping from here, ping again, we need to check ping which package. iputils-ping. Okay, let me install this package. So apt-get install ip-utils. It's not there. ip-utils-ping. apt-get install ip-utils-ping. Yes, I want to install. Okay, now I can able to get the ping command. And what was the IP of the previous container? 192.168.0.2. So if you want to try to ping from this one, ping. So you cannot able to ping to that network. Okay, because internally there is no gateway, so two different networks are not able to communicate. Okay, so this is how we configure it. And in different networks, if you don't want the default network, then you can able to use your own networks, and you can assign some public range, private IP range for your networks, and you can create it. So now from externally to test
One
it.
question.
Yes.
So, assume we have already, launched the container, okay, and we didn't specify any of the network, so it will take default. And
Yes.
after that, we have created few networks here. So, can we attach that container to this network at a point in time?
That is what I said in the previous session also, whether it can be port or image or volumes or network. Like once you created the container, you cannot modify the settings of that existing container. So you should create a new container with the same image. So if you want to create in the new network, then you can create a container in the new network and you can delete the old container. That is how it's possible. So you cannot change, modify the settings of that existing container.
Okay,
So if you
thank you.
want to create it in the new network, then you should create in a new network with the same image and then stop the old container. That is
Okay.
how it will work. Okay, so now I would like to access this both from the um, external world. So two different containers are running on two different ports. So let me access it, but I need to allow, I think I allowed full traffic. So now I can able to access this one. So by taking the public IP of this container, public IP of this Docker host. T85. Its security group is not allowed. Yesterday, did I give the full access, like all the ports allowed, or only I allowed specific ports? I don't remember.
Yeah, you opened all.
All right.
No, I did not open. I opened only 8080 and 8081. So let me allow all the ports so that always we no need to configure it. Add rule and all traffic and for everyone. Okay, now save it. Now again refresh this one. So let me go and check whether Nginx is running inside this machine or not. Docker etc init.t Nginx. Okay, it is not started. That's the reason we're not able to access the page. So now again, if I try here, okay, I started in the 8086. So let me try in the 8086 container. Okay, I can able to access, but I did not started in, and if you see the request is also in the logs, it is showing whenever we are accessing this page. Again, if I do one more hit, so here we can able to see that. So now let me go and start in the another container. So externally, these containers are able to access, even if I created in two different networks, they can able to access from the external, but internally they are not able to communicate. Okay. So now again here also let me check whether Nginx is started. No. So this container is running on 8085, and let me try with an 8085 port. Yes, you can able to access. So here also again it got this is my public IP from where we are trying to access, and logs are getting generated here. Okay, so this is how the two different networks are accessible through the external world, but internally they cannot able to access. And now only one final thing is left inside this topic, that is like how to assign the IP address. Means by default dynamically it is assigning the IP address. So now I want to assign specific IP to the container. So how can I do that? Let me come out of this
What
container.
you're saying.
Yeah.
So both are in different network now. So that's the reason we are not able to communicate. So both the containers are in same network, so we'll be able to communicate.
Sorry. Can you
Now
please come again?
you have showed. So both the containers, okay, so they are in different network now. So you have created
Yes.
192 and 172. So if
Yes.
two containers are in same network, let's say like both the containers are in 172, they'll be able to communicate, right?
Yeah, they will able to communicate because they are in the same network. So obviously they are going to communicate. Okay, to communicate two IPs in the single network, there will be no problem. So they can able to communicate. So let me try that one also. So
Praveen, is there any interface created on Docker? I mean, on the host?
on the host level.
Yeah.
So here, whenever the containers are getting created, one virtual interfaces gets created. If you see, two containers are available right now. So these are the two containers it is showing. And These are the bridge networks. So this is a default bridge for 172.17. When we install the Docker, this is a default network got created. So this is a default bridge to communicate with this host. When I created manually 2 different networks, so this is a bridge for those 2 networks, and this is 192.168.0.1 IP using as a gateway, and this is a bridge, and this is 5.254, which I manually defined this IP and address as a gateway. So these are the 2 bridges, total 3. So these are 2 bridges which got created when I created networks, and this is a default Ethernet card for my virtual machine. And these are the 2 again virtual Ethernet cards for the containers. So how many containers we are getting created, those many Ethernet cards will be available. But if your container is in stopped state, then this will be deleted. Okay, again it will be assigned a new IP address and a new container, like a new network over here. Now again I'll create a 3rd container. Now it will show 3rd virtual Ethernet card here for the Docker containers.
If we have
So
like
here-
100 containers, so we will be shown.
If you have 100 containers, and for all 100 containers, it will show the virtual Ethernet cards over here in the ifconfig command from the
Okay.
host level. So I'm going to create a new container, and for this I will give name like -1. Okay, the name of the container, because already one more container is available with Nginx 172, and I want to create in the 172 network. It got created. Now I need to install apt-get update and apt-get install net-tools, apt-get install iputils-ping. Okay, so I got it, ping command also. So let me check this is a IP address has been assigned. And if you remember, for the first container which I created in the 172 network, it was assigned 5.0. So now from here, I want to ping that 172.28.5.0. Okay, it's can able to connect. Okay, so this is the first container which I created. This is IP. So if you want, we can able to log into the another container, and we can see confirm the IP address whether I'm pinging the correct IP or not. Docker PS and 172 this one. Okay, if you see the name, this is the first container which I created in the 172 network. Now let me log into this one. And if you check ifconfig, this is the IP for this first container. So you can able to communicate the containers between the network, but you cannot able to communicate with the different network. Okay. And as I said, the final thing is to create a container with a static IP. Means I am going to define an IP address instead of the Docker decides the IP range, IP address to a container. Okay. So now everything we can use, what are the options we want is everything we are going to give in the Docker run command itself at the time of creating. So you want name, you want volume, you want image, we want ports, everything we are going to define in the same command. So whatever is the requirement. So again, Docker run -it -f name, we can give the name of the container. So I'll give Nginx 172-2, so that this is the second container, and -p 9080, and then -IP. So we can give the IP 172.28.5.100. I want to give 5.0, 5.1 is already used, and -network, and the network name from which network you want to assign the IP address, and then image. So I'm going to give Nginx image, okay, and bash. Network not found. Okay, so the
Index
name
with
is
172.
172 network. Okay, 172. From demo, the container name Nginx is already exists. Then we should give 3. Okay, it's created one more container with the specific IP address, whatever I defined here. So now again, let me install the package to see the IP address. Apt-get update, and apt-get install net-tools. Now if you check if config, so this is the IP address has been assigned to this container. Okay, so manually we can assign the IP address also if you want, or else if Docker let the assign the IP address also, then you no need to define the IP address and automatically it is going to define. Basically, we don't want to define the IP address because here containers are not immortal. Okay, so anytime it can die. Even though we are assigning the static IP, there is no use. Okay, randomly it will pick the IP from the network and it will take it. So it's no use of that one. Okay, but still we can have, sometimes we may want to assign the IP, then we can able to assign in that way. Okay, so this is about the Docker network. If you have any questions, you can ask me, or else we'll jump into the Docker volumes concept.
Praveen will be discussing Docker Swarm for multi-node those.
Docker Swarm actually not yet included in that, because anyhow we are going to discuss about the Kubernetes. The alternative for Docker Swarm is Kubernetes. So because there are a lot of disadvantages in the Docker Swarm and a lot of benefits in the Kubernetes, a lot of objects we can find in the Kubernetes. So that's why we are going to learn about the Kubernetes instead of Docker Swarm. We'll see, at least I'll try to talk about some basics about the Docker Swarm, and then we can jump into the Kubernetes. Okay.
Praveen,
Yeah.
actually, I just want to. What is the difference between run command and exec command?
Run command is to create the container. Exec is to go inside the container. Once it is created, to go inside the container, we are going to.
Actually, yeah. While I'm trying to execute Docker exec-it container name and the port number bin/bash. This is the command which I'm using. But at that time I'm getting one error, like runtime exec failed.
Okay.
Even I started the
Whenever you
container and
check any
then tried.
error, you
I'm
just
getting
ping in
failed.
the WhatsApp group. Okay. Whenever you're doing anyone, if you are guys are doing practice and you are facing any issues, we have a group,
Okay.
right? So just ping that error or whatever you are facing the issue, just ping in
Okay.
the group. Okay. So
Okay.
that myself or anyone who already practiced or anyone who already know like this one, someone help me, like what is the uppercase of P, like that, anyone can help. Okay. Or myself, if I get time, I will look into it and I will also will do replay.
Sure, Praveen. I'll post that message, error message in the group.
Okay. Okay, so now we talk about Docker volumes. Okay, so what is the purpose of volumes? I hope everyone knows about the volume.
One question.
So here,
Hello.
yes,
Praveen, it's regarding the Docker images. Okay.
hmm,
So in Docker Hub, there is a image called as Docker. Okay.
sorry,
You know,
Hello. Your voice is breaking.
Am I audible now?
Yes, tell me.
There is image called as Docker. Okay. So I didn't understand. I mean, what is the purpose of that particular image? Because we are already running the Docker container on top of the Docker. So can we run the Docker image on top of this container?
Hmm. You mean to say there is an image called Docker? That is what you are asking. What is the purpose of the image Docker? Your voice is not clear.
Yes, yes. What is the
See, a container also again can run as a Docker. Like if you are using an image, okay, and this is an image which we are using Docker image, means it's already installed with a Docker inside that image. So when you are using that image as a container, so again this is acting like a Docker host. So like how we are treating this as a Docker host, so again this is also going to be used as a Docker host. So that's why they have the Docker image, which is already installed with the Docker software inside that. So container will become as a Docker host now at that time. Again inside that you can create Docker containers inside that one.
yes.
Okay, so now we talk about the volumes. Here, basically, the containers are ephemeral, means they are like mortal. Anytime they were created, it's not permanent like how we get our virtual machines in our environment or maybe physical servers. But our containers can create anytime and they can die anytime. So they are not immortal. So now then why we need volumes? Sometimes basically the containerization when we choose, if your applications are stateless applications. Okay, stateless applications means what? It is not going to store any data. If it is, even though if it is generating any data and we don't want the data, because if the container got created and deleted, whatever the data it was generated, it will be also deleted along with the container. So if you don't want that data, then those applications are called as in stateless applications. Basically, most of the times we use stateless applications only. Means whatever the containers getting created here, this containers, assume this is the application container, and it's generating some data. Applications obviously will generate some data. If you don't want the data, if that container got deleted, then automatically the data will also get deleted. So these are called as the stateless applications. But there will be some applications will be there which are called as a stateful applications, which means what? It need to maintain the data. The data is required, like database. If you are deploying MySQL database as a container, then obviously database need to have. Otherwise, if the database container got deleted, and if the data is also got deleted, then how applications will work? Backend application will connect to the database and it will get the information. Let's say if you take assume Flipkart site, okay, e-commerce site. So we will buy a lot of things from here. So front end it will run the application servers, and this will be the like web server, and this is an application server, and back end it may be running with a database where all the content of this website like iPhones, whatever we are buying, whatever they are available, everything will be in the database. So whenever we are accessing as a user from this website, it will fetch from this database and will give us a pages. Okay, this is what you are searching for. If the database is not there, data is then not there, then how these websites can able to give that information? It cannot able to fetch. So database need the data. So here also, if the MySQL is the database, if you are deploying as a container, then it should store the data compulsory. Otherwise, it will be a problem. So those type of applications are called as stateful applications, which is expecting data should be there. So here, whenever we are creating a container, so it is taking a bare OS, right? Base OS from here, whatever the OS was there, so it was taking from here, maybe whatever the OS it is there. So it is creating a temporary volumes here, like temporary volumes under this varlib docker location, and it is getting mounted to a container. And whenever this container get deleted, and here also they will get deleted. Okay, so like let me log into this machine once again. So now docker ps, if you see here, and docker inspect this container ID, if you check, and see this inspect command you can use to any object. You can use it to image, you can use it to volume, you can use it to container. Okay, you can use it to the network. You can, it will describe the information, means it will give you the information. So here if you see, these are the directories are available here. Okay, so if you see, these are the volume directories. So now, and if you see, this is an overlay 2, and we have a storage drivers that we'll discuss now. So this overlay 2, and it is going to create directory with the container ID, and it is going to store the whatever the files you are creating. So when I'm log into this container, let me log into any of the container. And if you check df-nh, what it is doing, this is the 7.9 volume, like is mounted as a slash inside the container. So from where it is getting from the main docker host. Okay, so from here it is getting this volume. So whatever this docker host contains, if you check in the docker host df-nh, so whatever the slash volume is there, that is getting mounted. So backend it is mounting inside the varlib docker. Okay, so now if I come out of this one, if I check df-nh, you can see 7.9 GB, and this is the usage. And if you see, these are the volumes. So for every container, it's created under varlib docker, and it is using this volume, and it is mounting over here. So when the container get deleted, the data will also get deleted. Now what I'll do, I'll log into this machine once again. I'll create some files, touch file 1, file 2, file 3. I got created, these are the 3 files created. Now I'll come out of this container, and right now I'm in the docker host. So now it will be available inside this directory. And if you see, find, you see here under this location, we can able to see these are the files. Okay, and these are the OS related whatever is allocated to that specific container. And now if I delete the container, these files will be deleted. So let me come out of this directory, and docker ps, and docker rm-f. Forcefully I'm deleting. Actually you need to stop the container and you need to delete it, but I'm giving -f to forcefully delete the container. Now again, if I find the file name with file 1, I'm not able to get that. And if you see here in the df-nh also, previously it was showing 4, and now it is showing only 3, because whatever the volume it got created, it's a temporary volume, and it got deleted. Okay, so that's why whatever the data it is generating in the container level, as of now, if I logged in the container, if it is generating any logs or any application XML files or anything inside that application level, they are not going to be available once the container got deleted. So if it is not required, then it's okay. If it is required, then you need to create a volumes and you need to assign it. So those kind of applications are called a stateful application. So that's the reason now we'll start discussing about volumes, how to use the volumes. Okay, so here volumes
Praveen, quick
two
question.
types. Yeah.
So you said each container is taking around 5 GB.
Hmm.
So you mean once the Docker daemon is created, yes. So is it initially taking some space for the Docker and each container is getting a 5 GB?
Each
So
container,
if you create 3 containers, so is it going to take 15 GB from the overall memory of the hard disk?
no,
Mhm.
your Docker host contains,
Mhm.
this machine contains 8 GB only.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
contains
Mhm.
only 8 GB, and
Mhm.
that 8 GB it is using as an slash. When you created this virtual machine AWS
Mhm.
instance, from this 8 GB for OS related, it used 2.9 GB and its available is 5 GB,
5
right?
GB, yeah. Yep.
Now, here, if you check dif-h, here it is using this one. So now, when you install the Docker, where it is
Mhm.
getting created, under the where lib Docker is the location of the Docker, all the configuration, everything will be available over here. So when you
Okay.
created a container, so this is the storage driver of Docker overlay 2. Under this, it's creating a directory with container ID, and here it's creating some kind of volume type of thing. And
Okay.
this is going and mounting inside the container as a slash. So where is this where lib Docker available? Where is available inside the slash file system only.
Okay.
Okay. So here in the Linux operating system, where is where? Where is not a separate file system. Where is available inside the slash. So
Yes.
your virtual machine slash is mounting inside the container. So same slash is mounting. If you create 100 containers, for 100 containers, it is going to create this path and it will be mounted inside the container. Okay, so
Okay.
let me show you. So when you don't want to speak, guys, please go on mute. When you want to speak, at that time unmute yourself. Okay, so this is a container and this is a virtual machine, and here you have in the Linux the slash root file system, which is an 8 GB, and we don't have apart from this any other file system. So whenever you install Docker, it will be the volumes gets created under this one. Okay, overlay 2 and the container ID, and then it will create some directory. So this is going to be mounted inside the container as an slash operate slash. Okay, acting like a slash. So whatever the size of this Docker host, it is going to show the same over here, and the same will be applied to all the containers. So whenever I create another container, overlay to the new container ID, and it will create a directory, and that will also will be mounted here. The second one will be mounted here. The third one will be mounted here. So all this will be creating under where is under the slash only, because this is not separate file system. So that's why this slash file system is showing as a file system here. Let's say this container filled up, copied somewhere from where, and downloaded some 5 GB of data, then obviously this file system is going to become full. So when this is going to be full, then this container cannot able to generate any data because this is already full. So it cannot able to generate any data, because here also this is mounted. Here also this is mounted. This is like a NFS share. Okay. So in this location, if your Docker host is full, then your containers cannot generate any data, because whatever the file system it is using, it is from this main Docker machine, the Docker host. Okay, slash. So this slash is getting mounted in all the containers.
Got
Understood?
you. Yep. Thank you.
So
So 5
it's
GB
just
is
creating a direct.
5 GB is
I'm
initially
not
a
sure
all.
where you are seeing 5 GB. 5 GB is available space. The total size of this volume is 8 GB. Among that, 5 GB is free as of now. So the same volume is getting mounted and acting like a slash inside the every container. Okay, here,
Okay.
here. Okay,
Yeah, whoever
this is
takes first
acting like
call,
a
they opt.
slash here. Yeah, if this guy is storing 1 GB, this guy is storing 1 GB, this guy is storing 1 GB. From this, out of a free space 5 GB, 3 GB is full, remaining 2 GB is available. So whichever country is filling the data, end of the day it is storing over here. Okay,
Got you.
so
Thank
this
you.
is now, this is how it's happening as of now. So now what I want to do, uh, I want the data should be stored. So for that purpose, we want to create volumes. Okay. So
I
to
mean, I have a
create
question first.
volumes, yeah,
We can put it in this way, right? So containers, they are using AWS EC2 EBS volumes, right?
yes. See, containers doesn't know whether it's EBS or whatever it may be. Whatever the Docker host is having the OS, the slash file system it is using. This can be VMware virtual machine or this can be your local laptop, anything, your Docker host. So it doesn't know whether it's an EBS volume or Azure disk or maybe SAN storage disk. It doesn't know. It is taking the base OS slash file system. And in our scenario, that slash file system of this Docker host is using by the AWS storage, EBS storage.
Okay, okay. So if in case, like the volume, like is, okay, I'm installing something and it is full.
Sorry.
Okay, so how, I mean, so if I want my volume, okay, my host volume, okay,
Hmm.
so if it is full,
Hmm.
how does this
Hmm.
containers, I mean, so where we look for volume then? So if I want to run a new container,
Then you need to
so
extend
how
this
it
one.
operates?
The slash you need to extend. If the slash is full, then when you create new container, it cannot able to store the data. So you need to extend this slash so that if this is having enough space, then only containers gets created and it can store some data and it can delete it also. See, if the storing the data is not important, but if the application container cannot able to generate the data, then application will not function properly. So if it want to function properly, there should be enough space in the container. Whether storing or not storing, that is secondary. But to run that application functional, for example, if your C drive doesn't have space, then you cannot able to access the websites or you cannot able to browse anything because it is going to store some temporary files inside the temporary location. So if that space is not available, you cannot able to access the website. Same way here, if the containers doesn't have enough space, then it cannot able to start the application will not run. So in that scenario you need to increase this one, but if the container gets deleted, the application data will also get deleted. That is secondary, but to function properly the application, it should have enough space. Okay, so here the Docker volumes, we have storage drivers inside this Docker volumes also, same like network drivers, we have storage drivers also available. So as I was talking about Docker volumes, so we have two types of volumes, named volumes and bind volumes. Okay. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a volume and we will assign that volume to the container so that even though container got deleted, if the container got deleted, but still the data will be available inside your Docker host. Just now we tested if the container got deleted, whatever the file I created inside the container got also deleted. Okay, but now if I created a volume, the data will be stored inside that volume. So even though container got deleted, the new container again we can give it the this volume and it can use that volume to get the data. So that is the advantage of volumes. Like in the traditional data center, whoever from the Linux or Windows background or maybe from the storage background, for our virtual machines or maybe for our physical servers, let's say if it is a physical server, storage team is going to assign storage, okay, SCSI storage to the physical boxes. So even though physical box is completely damaged or OS is corrupted, okay, but still we can get the data from the storage. Okay, because logically storage team is assigning storage to the physical servers. So everything is getting stored inside the storage, not in the physical server, because physical server contains internally 100 GB or 200 GB that we use it for the OS purpose. But externally we are giving storage through the fiber cables, logically will assign. Okay, so that if something happens, the data will be inside the storage. Okay, so same way here, the Docker host, we are creating volumes from the Docker host. From the Docker host, we are going to give it to the container. So container got deleted, still we can able to access the data. So as of now, we'll discuss the storage drivers in Docker. So tomorrow we'll see complete practical about this storage. Okay. So this is a overlay 2 and AutoFS, device mapper, loopback LPM, and so these are the recommendations. Okay. The storage drivers. So by default, we'll use overlay 2. So overlay storage driver is deprecated in Docker engine, means now no one is using this overlay, it's deprecated. So the latest is overlay 2. Okay. So like in Linux operating system, we'll have a file systems, right? ext3, ext4, xfs, the logical volume manager to create the volumes. The same way here also to create storage. So we have a storage drivers like overlay 2. And backend, if you see, okay, these are things. So supported backend file systems, if you see, overlay 2 means xfs and ext4 file system in the Linux, and AUFS means again xfs, ext4, again same file systems it is using. OS level file systems these are. Okay, so VFS means any file system. So these are the storage drivers. So by default, it is going to use overlay 2. So tomorrow I will show you how to create volumes, these named volumes, and how to attach it and how to store the data. And I'll try to delete one container and create new container, and I'll attach the old volume to the new container to see the data, and how to attach a single volume to multiple containers like a NFS drive. So all these things tomorrow we'll discuss.